Jai.
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 Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Privajakacharya Stotra Saptashishi Mad. His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai.
Jai.
ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Bo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulasi Maharani Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
To the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga.
Hare
Namaste Saraswati Devi Namo Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, The Status Quo, Chapter 3. What's the title of Chapter 3? Krishna's Pastimes Out of Vrindavan. Text 10. Kalamagada Shalvadin Anikai Rundatakpuram Ajiganat Swayam Divyam Swapumsam Teja Adishat. Kalamagada Shalvadin Anikai Rundatakpuram Ajiganat Swayam Divyam Swapumsam Teja Adishat. Kalamagada Shalvadin Anikai Rundatakpuram Ajiganat Swayam Divyam Swapumsam Teja Adishat. Everyone chant, please.
Kalamagada Salvadhin Anikairundhatapuram Ajiganat Swayam Divyam Swapumsam Teja Adisat.
Kalamagada Salvadin Anikairundatapuram Ajighanat Swayam Divyam Swapumsam Teja Adisat.
Hare Krishna. Kalamagada Salvadin Anikairundatapuram Ajiganat Swayam Divyam Swapumsana Teja Adishat. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, word for word translation. Kalayavana. Magadha, the king of Magadha, Jarasandha. Shalva, King Shalva. Adin, and others. Anikai, by the soldiers. Rundata, being encircled. Puram, the city of Mathura. Ajighanat, killed. Swayam, personally. Divyam, transcendental. Swapumsam, of his own men. Teja, prowess. Adishat, exhibited. Translation. Kalayavana, the king of Magadha, and Shalva attacked the city of Mathura. But when the city was encircled by their soldiers, the Lord refrained from killing them personally just to show the power of his own men. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. After the death of Kamsa, when Mathura was encircled by the soldiers of Kalayavana, Jarasandha, and Shalva, the Lord seemingly fled from the city, and thus he is known as Ranchor, or one who fled from fighting. Actually, the fact was that the Lord wanted to kill them through the agency of his own men, devotees like Muchakunda and Bhima. Kalayavana and the king of Magadha were killed by Muchakunda and Bhima respectively, who acted as agents of the Lord. By such acts, the Lord wanted to exhibit the prowess of his devotees as if he were personally unable to fight, but his devotees could kill them. The relationship of the Lord with his devotees is a very happy one. Actually, the Lord descended at the request of Brahma in order to kill all the undesirables of the world. But to divide the share of glory, he sometimes engaged his devotees to take the credit. The Battle of Kurukshetra was designed by the Lord himself, but just to give credit to his devotee Arjuna, Nimitta matram bhavasa vyasachin, he played the part of the charioteer while Arjuna was given the chance to play the fighter, and thus become the hero of the Battle of Kurukshetra. What he wants to do himself by his transcendental plans, he executes through his confidential devotees. That is the way of the Lord's mercy toward his pure, unalloyed devotees. Verse again. Kalamagada Shalvadin Anikai Rundatapuram Ajiganat Swayam Divyam Swapumsam Teja Adishat. Kalayavana, the king of Magadha, and Shalva attacked the city of Mathura, but when the city was encircled by their soldiers, the Lord refrained from killing them personally just to show the power of his own men. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunivadi Paschata Deshatarine. Hare Krishna. Good morning, everybody. Also, a happy Kartik to everybody. I think that's starting today, correct? I think it's the same here as in Philly.
Yes, Prabhu.
So before I start, I'll tell a quick little story or example that Srila Prabhupada gave about following Kartik. He gave the example of a store. Imagine that in your town, there's a very excellent store that has all the things you need, and the prices are good, and the service is good. So you go to that store every day, and you very happily purchase everything you need for your life at that store. But then once a year, that store, you're already a customer of that store, but there are other people in the town who are not. So once a year, that store holds a sale. Come for the sale, prices reduced to, what did he say now? I see at the shopping center, BOGO, right? Buy one, get one free. So everything's on sale, buy one, get one free. So that people who are not already customers of the store, they'll be attracted to come to the store. But people who are already coming to the store, they would come to the store anyway. But now when they come to the store during the sale, they also get the benefit. So Prabhupada said that Kartik is like that. We're already coming to the store of devotional service. And Kartik or no Kartik, sale or no sale, we go on with our devotional service. We don't need that sale to attract us or to motivate us. But for all those people who are slack or not interested in devotional service or don't know about devotional service, when they hear about it, oh, Kartik, you get this benefit and that benefit and the other thing. And it's like, chanting one round is like chanting 1,000 rounds or whatever benefits are there. Those are not untrue, but they're not needed motivation for those who are already devotees, but it's to bring in all of the people of the world who are not yet devotees become attracted. So this is Kartik. And all the extra things and ratas, if you choose to do that, a very nice thing. But basically, we just continue engaging in devotional service during Kartik with some added flourishes like offering a lamp, chanting Damodarashtakam. And like I said, if you choose to do, more is there.
Thank you, but that's very good one, Prabhu.
That's how Prabhupada described it, at least in that instance, that's what he described. So today's verse, this is another excellent verse. This chapter is so nice, actually, listing all of this summarizing of all of Krishna's pastimes. A very nice sequence, just getting a little summary taste of all these different phases of Krishna's pastimes is very good. Just like in preparation for this, I was also looking at these pastimes described in the 10th canto. And at the very beginning of the 10th canto, before the actual text and verses start, Prabhupada gives a summary, chapter by chapter summary, just like a paragraph each for each chapter of the 10th canto, describing all of the pastimes, like this chapter, but a little more in depth. And then even more in depth is Krishna book and then the Bhagavatam itself. So there's all these different levels of depth or elaborateness that we can look at these pastimes. But here we're getting very nice like thumbnail sketches of each pastime. And here we're hearing about this attack. The broader pastime is the attack of Mathura after the killing of Kamsa. So relatively in Krishna's pastimes out of Vrindavan, this actually happened relatively early, that Kamsa was killed, and Kamsa had these demonic friends, demonic associates who were all already hateful of Krishna. So they said, oh, and we'll get into these persons individually. And they said, yes, let's attack Mathura. So who are these envious persons? The first listed is Kalayavana. Kalayavana means the dark complexioned or the black Yavana. And this word Yavana is itself very interesting. The word Yavana, also in other languages, Yona or Yana or Yavana, is used to refer to the Greeks, people of Greek extraction. But it's not always that specific. Sometimes it's just referring to different outside countries, outside invaders. And the word Yavana also in Sanskrit culture and languages, it's also become something of a pejorative term, a negative term, that Yavanas, they're associated generally with barbaric people, uncivilized people. But traditionally very old, it goes back to the Greek people were Yavanas. So wherever this Kala Yavana came from, it's not described that he came from Greece, but there's an interesting story about in the Brahmanda Purana describing his appearance and his life. There was one Brahmana who was named Gargya, not Garga, Gargya, meaning he was a descendant of Garga Muni or somehow related to him. So he was known as Gargya. And one day, this woman named Vrika Devi tried to seduce him. And these if you know these Purana stories and Mahabharata stories, they're often quite strange and unusual and a bit salty here and there. So forgive me, but this is a story. Vrika Devi tried to seduce this Gargya, and in the course of their relationships, Gargya, the Brahmana, was unable to, how do I put delicately? He was unable to consummate the sexual relationship with Vrika Devi. And because of that, she like mocked him and insulted him. And when word of this got out that this Gargi couldn't consummate the sex act with this woman, word got out, and it was even heard about uh, in the Sabha of the Yadu dynasty. And they also heard about this, and there was some laughter and insulting of this Gargya. So because of that, this Gargya becomes so angry at the Yadus in particular, so envious of them that they insulted him and laughed at him. And he became so hateful of the Yadu dynasty. So as people do sometimes when they really hate someone but can't defeat them themselves, they do austerities to get a son who could do it for them. And in Mahabharata, there's also so many examples of that. So this Gargi, he performed very intense austerities for a long time. And part of his austerities that instead of eating food, he only ate ground up iron powder. That was the only food he took, iron powder. And because he was eating the iron powder, his skin became very black from the iron in his system. And then later on, when he was traveling somewhere, remember he was Brahmana, he was traveling somewhere and he had sexual relationships with a lower class woman, a cowherd girl. And the product of that union was Kala Yavana. That's another meaning of Yavana. Manu Samhita equates the Yavanas with Sudras, and other scriptures equate them with mixed marriages. Some of you may remember how Prabhupada describes, what is it, the Anuloma and Pratiloma mixed marriages. I can't remember which is which. One is with a man in a higher caste and a woman in a lower caste, or vice versa. But these mixed castes are generally considered lower in society, like Karna, for example. So therefore, and the son also had the blackish skin like the father did from his austerities. So he had that blackish skin. He was considered a little lower class because of his mixed caste lineage. But because of the father's austerity, he actually had the boon that no one could defeat him on the battlefield. That was a specific boon. No one can defeat him on the battlefield. And he was friends with Kamsa and these other rascals, Jarasandha and Shalva. He was friends with them. So he also took part in the attack on Mathura after Kamsa was killed and they attacked. So that's Kalayavana, one person. Next person I'll talk about is Shalva. He was also very envious of Krishna. He was also friends with Rukmi and Jarasandha and Dantavakra and all those demonic persons, and Jarasandha. He was friends with all these demonic persons. And he was actually present at the Swayamvara of Rukmini. We know Rukmini, the marriage ceremony was going to be held. Rukmi wanted to give her to his friend Shishupala, was it? Yeah, he wanted to give Rukmini, and of course, Rukmini was only meant for Krishna, and Krishna came and kidnapped her. And in the course of that kidnapping, again, the Yadu dynasty was there to help, and they helped Krishna soundly defeat all of the competing suitors, including the Shalva. In the let's see if I could quickly find some of this in the Krishna book. Oh, that's right. I also forgot that Shalva also, because of his envy of the Yadus, and more specifically his envy of Krishna himself, He also did big, big austerities. And as Prabhupada says, the demons, usually when they want to get something, they usually go to Lord Shiva. So he did austerities for a long time to Lord Shiva and pleased him. And in return, he got from Lord Shiva, he got this fly, I don't know what to call it. Sometimes it's described as an airplane or a flying city or like a flying battleship, which was so powerful, no one could defeat him. And he actually attacked Dwarka. Here's some little descriptions. Let me see if I can. I don't have the exact one, but anyway, he came and attacked Dwarka with this flying battleship of his. And uh, he was actually so powerful, but as this verse says, Krishna sometimes allows his other devotees to fight. So Krishna was actually out of Dwarka at the time. So Pradyumna and others of his children and descendants and members, and I think just Arjuna was there, other members of the army at Dwarka fought him and did a very good job actually of fighting him and defeating his army and his airship, but they couldn't quite seal the deal. They couldn't quite kill him. So then when Krishna heard what was going on in his town of Dwarka, he immediately went there and returned and had a big fight with Shalva. At one time, even Shalva was so powerful that he was actually able to knock Krishna's bow out of his hand, which is a huge accomplishment against the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's just like in the fight with Lord Varaha and Hiranyaksha, that at one time the demon hit the Lord very solidly, and all his demigods in the sky watching, alas, alas, and got worried. But of course, it's all part of Krishna's pastimes. So here's a nice description from Krishna book. Shalva thought that he had become victorious, and with a roaring sound, he addressed Lord Krishna as follows, quote, "You rascal Krishna, you kidnapped Rukmini forcibly even in our presence. You baffled my friend Shishupal and married Rukmini yourself. And in the great assembly at King Yudhishthir's Rajasuya Yagya, while my friend Shishupal was a little absent-minded, you took an opportunity to kill him. Everyone thinks that you are a great fighter and that no one can conquer you. So now you'll have to prove your strength. I think that if you stand before me any longer with my sharp arrows, I shall send you to a place wherefrom you will never return." So he spoke these very bold and insulting words. And to this, Lord Krishna replied, and this is a famous response from Krishna also, quote, "Foolish Shalva, you are talking nonsensically. You do not know that the moment of death is already upon your head." And here's the key line. "Actual heroes do not talk much. They prove their prowess by practical exhibition of chivalrous activities." After saying this, Lord Krishna, in great anger, struck Shalva on the collarbone with his club so severely that Shalva began to vomit blood and tremble as if he were going to collapse from severe cold. So it goes on. Shalva had many mystic powers, so he disappeared and then came back with his airplane, and there was more fighting. Then Krishna destroyed his airplane. He was shooting arrows, he was shooting darts. Then he was using his club in the fight against him. And then finally, when all of the soldiers had been killed and his airplane had been destroyed, finally, Krishna with his Sudarshan chakra removed Shalva's head from his body and killed him. So this is the fate of those who oppose Krishna, and the Shalva in particular. So powerful and practically undefeatable flying battleship. And even seemingly at one point having the advantage in the fight. Prabhupada also says in Krishna book that when Shalva struck Krishna and knocked the weapon out of his hand, Prabhupada said that Shalva became very enthusiastic to fight, just like a moth becomes enthusiastic to fly into the fire. So I very much like that description by Prabhupada. The idea is he was enthusiastic to fight, but it was simply meaning he was enthusiastic to meet his death at Krishna's hand. So this is Shalva, another rascal. And in this case, Krishna killed him, but he also engaged so many of the Yadu dynasty in also opposing him, so showing their strength as well. And then finally, not finally, he's last in this list, but he's such a key person, was Jarasandha. Jarasandha is also very interesting person with an interesting history and so powerful and so bizarre. Previously, there was a big king, powerful king named Brihadrata. Brihadrata means one who has a huge chariot. So he was famous as a chariot fighter. And his queens were twin sisters who were princesses, daughters of the king of Kashi. So he had these two queens who were sisters, and he loved both of them very much, and he actually loved them equally. And he was actually fine, but he had one lamentation. He had no son in his family. So one day a sage came to his kingdom, as the kings do, the materialistic kings do. They express their material desires to the sage, and that he wanted a son. So the sage gave him a magic fruit. And he says, here, take this, offer it to your queen. The queen will eat it, and you'll get a son. So he took the fruit, but because he loved both of his queens equally, he couldn't decide which one to give it to, so he cut the fruit. These Mahabharata stories are so amazing. I love them so much. They're fun and crazy and bizarre and perfectly put together. So he cut the fruit in half and gave a half of the fruit each to each of his beloved queens. Each got a half of the fruit, and they both got pregnant. So of course, what happened? Each queen gave birth to half a baby. And everyone saw this and they were horrified. Half a baby, two halves of like a baby chopped in half down the middle. They were horrified, actually, by this bizarre, freak of nature. So they took the two halves and just threw them in the forest. It didn't work. We got these two crazy baby halves. This is not normal. This is not sane. So they took the halves and threw it in the forest. Now, at that time, there was a Asuri or a witch wandering in the forest named Jara. And this witch, her habit was actually eating babies. So she saw the two halves of the baby lying there in the ground. And she thought, oh, okay, two halves of baby, that equals one baby. That would be a good meal for me. But then just out of curiosity, she took the two halves and put them together. And the two halves stuck. The baby came to life as a whole baby. And because she was an Asuri and a woman and a killer of babies, but still her heart was a little bit touched by the crying of the baby. So she decided not to eat it. And she deduced or somehow figured out where it had come from. So she went to the kingdom of Brihadrata and said, here, this is your child you found in two halves, but I put them together, it stuck together, and here's your whole son. And then Brihadrata and the queens, they were so happy. We have a son. And because of that, they named him Jara Sandha. Jara was the witch, and Sandha means to come together or to join together. So in this way, this child was born, Jarasandha. And Jarasandha, when he grew up, he was also extremely powerful Kshatriya, so powerful, and in charge of a huge army. And also, because he was so powerful, Kamsa became friends with him before he was killed, appreciating his great military prowess. They became great friends. And in honor of that friendship, Jarasandha, after he was married and had children, he gave his two daughters to Kamsa to be his two wives. So Jarasandha, that means, was actually the father-in-law of Kamsa. So they were very close, very great friends. So when Krishna killed Kamsa, Jarasandha became so angry. He was already envious of Krishna, but that was like the straw that broke his back. He vowed to destroy Krishna and destroy the Yadu dynasty. And that was the main cause of this attack on Mathura after Kamsa was killed. Jarasandha was like the ringleader of the whole thing. And Jarasandha, he attacked Mathura with such a huge army. Bhagavatam says he attacked with 23 Akshohinis. I can't remember how much an Akshohini is. It's a lot of soldiers and elephants and chariots and such. But 23 Akshohinis, the Kurukshetra war was 11 Akshohinis against 8. Was it 11 against 8 or 11 against 7? Now I can't remember. Yeah, 11 against 7 Akshohinis, which means the whole Kurukshetra war was only 18 Akshohinis altogether, who eventually
Okay.
all were killed. And Jarasandha attacked with 23 Akshohinis, so almost like a third more than the whole Battle of Kurukshetra. So this is a gigantic force. So he attacked with this tremendous force. And he attacked once, and Krishna and the Yadus defeated and repulsed the army. And then they came again and attacked again, and Krishna and the Yadus repulsed them again. And this happened 17 times in a row. To take a little detour here, this killing of big armies is actually a very important part of what of Krishna's duty. Krishna has no duty, but he chooses to do certain things. But removing these unnecessary military forces that are burdening the world, this is a very important thing that Krishna does when he comes. The Battle of Kurukshetra to remove the unnecessarily military force, fighting Jarasandha and so many demons and so many armies. And it's such an important part of Krishna's activities that even at the end of his pastimes, he even arranged for the Yadu dynasty to fight amongst themselves and kill themselves. Because even though they were the Yadu dynasty, even though they were devotees, that's still considered an unbearable burden for the earth to have these very powerful military forces upon them. So what an important part it is of Krishna's pastimes. So anyway, he's doing that in this fight with Jarasandha, who keeps on attacking Mathura due to his envious of Krishna and envy of the Yadu dynasties. And he attacked 1, 2, 3, 4, 17 times in a row he attacked. And each time Krishna and the Yadus repulsed and defeated him and his army. Then finally he attacked another time, the 18th time. And when he attacked that 18th time, then he was also accompanied by the king Kalayavana. And a couple of things happened on that 18th attack. As the verse says, Krishna wanted to give some of the credit to his devotees. So when Kalayavana challenged him, Krishna thought of a plan that how to defeat this Kalayavana and still maintain his boon. Remember, he had the boon. He could not be killed on the battlefield. So Krishna seemingly, apparently, ran away, left the battlefield, and Kalayavana chased after him. And then Krishna went to the cave where Muchukunda was sleeping and allowed Kalayavana to enter. And thus it was arranged that he went into the cave, saw Muchukunda sleeping there, thought it was Krishna, attacked and insulted him, and Muchukunda burnt him to ashes with his glance. So because Kalayavana was low-class person, Yavana, Krishna perhaps didn't want to personally deal with him, and also to empower and enable his great devotee from way, way back in time of Lord Ramachandra, Muchukunda, to get some glory also by killing this demon. So in this way, Kalayavana was killed not by Krishna directly, but by Krishna's devotee. And then, because Krishna ran away in today's purport, we heard how Krishna is known as Krishna the Ranchor, Krishna who ran away. That's also described. I'll read a little bit from Krishna book. Again, yes. Chapter 52, Krishna the Ranchor. Let's see. Okay. This time, talking about this 18th attack, Jarasandha thought that Krishna and Balaram were very much afraid of his military strength and were fleeing the battlefield. He followed them with all his chariots, horses, and infantry. He thought Krishna and Balaram to be ordinary human beings, and he was trying to measure the activities of the Lord. Due to this pastime, Krishna is known as Ranchor, which means one who has left the battlefield. In India, especially in Gujarat, there are many temples of Krishna known as temples of Ranchorji. Ordinarily, if a king leaves the battlefield without fighting, he is called a coward. But when Krishna enacts this pastime, leaving the battlefield without fighting, he is worshipped by the devotees. A demon always tries to measure the opulence of Krishna, whereas a devotee never tries to measure his strength and opulence, but always surrenders unto him and worships him. So, can anyone from India testify? Are these Ranchorji temples common in Gujarat? Does anyone know? Is that a fact? Okay, I don't know anything about it, but probably.
Yes, Prabhu, it's in Dakor, Gujarat, where there is a deity
Yes.
of Ranchor Rai.
And that's a prominent temple there?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes.
Okay, so as Prabhupada said, in Gujarat, he's worshipped like that. Krishna the Ranchor is worshipped, although he ran away. Just like Krishna the thief is also worshipped by the devotees. And Krishna the cheater, and Krishna who does everything. Whenever Krishna does it, then it's perfect. So here, Krishna the Ranchor.
Yeah, I heard also there's a temple in Gujarat. And also Prabhupada even named one of his disciples who live in England, is a British.
All right. Ranchor, he's a very famous devotee.
Ranchor Das, yeah.
Yeah, so we shouldn't think of material cowardice, but all part of Krishna's plan. So anyway, he seemingly ran away. Jarasandha was chasing after him, and Krishna and Balaram, they climbed this big mountain whose name I forget. So Jarasandha thought, oh, I'll set the whole mountain on fire and burn them up, as if you could burn the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Krishna and Balaram, unknown to Jarasandha, jumped off that mountain so many miles high. So he jumped from like miles up in the air, which an ordinary person can't do, nor could he be burnt. But Jarasandha was ignorant, thought, oh, I've destroyed Krishna. So for some time, he actually thought that Krishna and Balaram had been killed. Then later on, when the Rajasuya Yagya was held, after the Rajasuya Yagya, Yudhishthira sent out all of his brothers and all of his generals out to all the kingdoms to make sure that they all surrendered unto him. Because after the Rajasuya Yagya, the king is supposed to actually be chief amongst all the kings. And practically speaking, all of the kings of the world offered their fealty and obeisances to Yudhishthira, but Jarasandha would not. So therefore, Uddhava, Krishna's advisor, came up with a plan. And the plan was Krishna, Arjuna, and Bhim put on disguise as Brahmanas, and they went to the royal court of Jarasandha in disguise. And they said, oh, King Jarasandha, you're known for being magnanimous and generous to the Brahmanas. So we've come here to ask a boon of you. And Jarasandha looked at them, and he actually understood in his mind, these are not Brahmanas. They look as powerful as elephants with muscles and broad shoulders. And I could see on their shoulders the mark of where, like regular soldiers, they get like a mark from carrying their bow and carrying their quiver, and they look as powerful as elephants. These are not brahmanas. These are certainly Kshatriyas. But he thought to himself, yet they've come in the guise of brahmanas, so I'll give them anything they want. I'll even give them my life if they request it. So he did that. And then Krishna said, actually, Jarasandha, you're right. We're not brahmanas. I am Krishna, the head of the Yadu dynasty. And this is the great warrior Arjuna and the powerful fighter Bhim. And the thing we've come to beg of you is a battle. And Jarasandha, still being angry, said, you, Krishna, I don't want to fight you. You're a coward. You ran away. Why would I fight with a coward? I won't fight with you. And Arjuna, you're just a little baby. You're just a little kid. Why would a mature, powerful fighter like me fight with a little kid like you, Arjuna? I wouldn't waste my time. But then he says, but Bhim could be a formidable opponent. So I'll fight with Bhim. And so it was arranged that they would have a big Gada Yuddha, a big club fight with the Gada, with the club. Bhim and Jarasandha. And the fight started, and they had very heavy iron clubs. A normal person couldn't even lift them, but they were both using these intense, huge, powerful iron clubs. And the fight started, and when they would hit each other with the clubs, it felt like trees falling down in the forest, or like thunder from a bolt of lightning, each strike. And they were striking each other, and all day long. And then at the end of the day, the fighting would cease, and they would all just hang out together and eat dinner together and have a happy time together. The Krishna and the two Pandavas, as well as Jarasandha, they would associate together at night. But then the next day, this amazing fierce fighting would start again, day after day. And finally, after some time, the clubs themselves got ruined and smashed to bits. So then they were fighting with their fists. And the fist landing on each other was even louder than the clubs. They were so powerful, like thunder each strike. And after days of this, in the evening, Bhim said to Krishna, he said, Krishna, I'm actually not sure if I could defeat him. He's so powerful. You could see every day it's just a stalemate, but I can't defeat him. And then Krishna gave him the hint that of Jarasandha's birth, that because he was born by the two halves being joined, that's the only way he could also be destroyed, by those two halves being separated. And sometimes it's also said that Krishna gave him the hint silently, by holding up like a twig or a leaf, like if you take a blade of grass and split it down the middle and separate it. And that was the hint that Krishna gave to Bhim, and he understood. So in the course of their fighting, he wrestled Jarasandha to the ground. And you could picture this in your mind. He took one foot and put it down on one leg of Jarasandha on the ground. And then he grabbed the other leg of Jarasandha and pulled it and actually split him apart. And as his birth was so ghastly and shocking, his death was the same thing. Prabhupada describes he was split right up the middle. He said right from the anus, the genitals, all his guts, all the way up to his face, split in half. He even said, again, a little salty description, but each half had, one eye, one ear, one nostril, and even on the lower part of his body, each half had one testicle. So he was split right up the middle like that, and the parts were thrown apart. Actually, I've read some versions that say that after he was ripped apart, that the parts joined together again. So then Krishna had to hint to him that you throw the two halves after you rip them apart. You throw the two halves far away so that they can't come together. So in this way, finally, Jarasandha was destroyed. And again, how did Krishna do it? He didn't do it personally. It was through his intelligence, his inspiration, and the intelligent plan of Uddhava, but he gave it to his devotee. because Krishna wants his devotees to get the credit, to get the glory. Prabhupada says, just like in Battle of Kurukshetra. Arjuna in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, he says, "Oh, my senses are drying up. I'm sad. I'm lamenting. I'm disturbed. Even if I get Raja Suranam Api, even if I get a kingdom like the kingdom of heaven, I don't want it." But then later on, Krishna says, "Tasmat tvam utishta yasho labasva." Get up, fight, and win fame. Arjuna is saying in the beginning, I don't want fame. It's not worth it. But Krishna says, get up, yasho labasra, you'll get fame. Jitva satrun bhungshra virajam simridham. Fight with your enemies and destroy them. Mayavate nihita porvameva. Whatever you do, I have already done it. I have already done it. Nimitta matram bhava savya sachin. Oh, savya sachi, you just be my instrument. So even when Krishna gives the glory and gives the work and gives the service to his devotees, the devotees knows that Krishna is still the instrument. Krishna is doing everything. Krishna is the only ultimate real doer. But Krishna gives his devotees a task to do on his behalf. And the devotee does it with all strength, with all intelligence, with all endeavor, yet at the same time knowing that it's only by Krishna that this is happening. So many instances of this. There's a nice conversation with Srila Prabhupada. I think it was a morning walk. Vishnu Jan Swami says, Srila Prabhupada, what did Bhaktivinoda Thakur mean when he said, I am going with my work, I'm leaving with my work unfinished? Prabhupada says, Vishnu Jan again. When Bhaktivinoda Thakur stated that he was leaving this planet with his work unfinished, Prabhupada says, then let us finish. We are descendants of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So he kept unfinished so that we shall get the chance to finish it. That is his mercy. He could have finished immediately. He is Vaishnava. He is all powerful. But he gave us chance that you foolish people, you also work. That is his mercy. So we should pray to Bhaktivinoda Thakur that, quote, we are your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren. So we have got some right to beg some mercy from you. The grandchildren get some indulgence from the grandfather. So pray like that. It is Bhaktivinoda Thakur's mercy. A Vaishnava can, then he pauses and says, Krishna doesn't require anyone's help. Still, he is asking, surrender to me. He doesn't require anyone's surrender, but it is for him good, one who surrenders. Not that Krishna is in need of anyone's service. He is complete. But he comes as if he is in helpless condition and asking for us to surrender. So that is for his good. One who is surrendered, he'll get the result. Krishna is self-sufficient. Similarly, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is self-sufficient. But if he said that I keep unfinished, that means he gave us the chance, the opportunity. So we should always pray to Bhaktivinoda Thakur to be merciful upon us so that we can execute his unfinished task. That should be our work. And never we should think that what Bhaktivinoda Thakur could not finish, I have finished. Don't think like that. It's not like that. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Eka ki amara nahi pai. So this is beautiful. Krishna is the one who can and will deliver the entire world. But he gives that to his devotees, all of his devotees in the parampara, especially from the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So many devotees. What's the Sango Pangastra Parshadam? How's that verse? How does that verse start? Sango Pangastra Parshadam. Who knows that verse? The beginning of it is escaping my memory.
Krishna Varnam Tusa Krishna.
Yes, thank you very much. Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam Sango Pangastra Parshadam. That Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came not black like Krishna, but he came chanting the holy name of Krishna, and he came with Sango Pangastra Parshadam. He came with his associates and his weapons. So just like weapons in the hand of a soldier are the tools by which you fight, so the great devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are the weapons by which Mahaprabhu comes to conquer the entire world, not militarily, but by Krishna consciousness conquering the entire world. And all the devotees do it. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta did it by starting his Gaudiya Math and sending preachers overseas. But apparently he didn't finish. So Prabhupada looked at it and said, let me be an instrument of my Guru Maharaj. And he continued by creating ISKCON and going all over the world. And Prabhupada did so much, you can't even imagine all the change that Prabhupada caused in the world, bringing Krishna consciousness. But he also apparently, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur before him, as Prabhupada was saying in that excerpt, Prabhupada also seemingly left it unfinished. And that's for us, his disciples, his grand disciples, and ultimately his great-grand disciples, going on to finish this glorious work, but knowing that it's only Krishna doing it, not thinking, oh, I'm the big preacher, I'm saving the world. Bhakti Siddhanta never said like that. Prabhupada never said like that. Humble servants of their Guru Maharaj and humble servants of Krishna, and us as humble servants of Srila Prabhupada and his ISKCON movement doing the same thing. And knowing that it's not my ability, it's not my strength, it's not my preaching ability. It's how much am I willing to become a tool, to become a vessel into which Prabhupada and Krishna can pour their ability and strength and influence, and I can become a tool in their hands. Prabhupada also quotes, he said, at the end of that excerpt, he said, Ekaki Amara Nahi Pai. This is actually from the song, Ohe Vaishnava Thakur. Ekaki Amara Nahi Paya Bala Harinama Sankirtane Tumi Kripa Kori Shraddha Bindu Diya Deho Krishna Nama Dane. He says, Ekaki Amara Nahi Paya Bala. By myself, my strength is insufficient. Whether it's Arjuna, whether it's Bhim, whether it's Muchakunda or the Yadavas, by themselves, their strength is always insufficient. Any jiva, their strength is insufficient, practically non-existent. But if you can become, but anyway, the song goes on, alone, nahi payabala, alone on my own, by myself, I have no strength. Harinama Sankirtane, for what purpose? To spread the Harinam Sankirtan. I have no ability, I have no strength, I have no capacity to do this. But Tumi Kripa Kori, Shraddha Bindu Diya, if you give me your mercy, praying to Krishna or praying to Mahaprabhu, if you give me your mercy, and if you give me just a drop of faith, faith in what? Faith in Krishna's ability, not in our own ability. If you give me that mercy, and if you give me that single drop of faith, then Deho Krishna Nama Dane, then it's possible to give to someone the greatest treasure of the holy name of Krishna. This is how we preach. This is how we live. This is how we practice Krishna consciousness. Not thinking, I am so smart. I'm so powerful. I'm so great. I'm doing everything. I'm so amazing. What's that? The demon says in Bhagavad Gita that I am strong, I am powerful, I am pious, I am everything. But no, a devotee never thinks like that. He thinks, on my own, I have nothing. But if I could but the one thing I can do is Tumi Kripa Kori Shraddha Bindu Diya, pray to Krishna, give me your mercy, give me a drop of faith, let me be a vessel for your potency, your strength, and your love. Then we, as tools in Krishna's hand, as tools of the parampara and as tools of Srila Prabhupada, then we could do amazing things. Just like at the appearance of Krishna, talking about Vasudev, how, because Vasudev had Krishna in his heart when he was in the prison, because Krishna in his heart, he became so powerful and so effulgent that ordinary people could not even look at him. And Prabhupada in the purport says, when a devotee accomplishes these great things because he has Krishna in their heart, because he's empowered by Krishna, the whole world becomes amazed and astounded at what the devotee can do. So this is how we preach, this is how we live, this is how we do our sadhana. Not depending on ourselves, but at the same time, we have to be active to make ourselves fit recipients of Krishna's power, because Krishna is the only source of energy and the only source of ability. Krishna is describing himself to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, how to see him in the world. Let's see what time it is. Oops, running out of time. So I'll wrap it up quickly. Krishna says, Rasuham apsu konteya. I am the taste in water. If there's any taste or refreshment or nourishment in water, that is me. Pravasmi sashi suryayo, that the light of the universe, the stars and sun and moon, this is me. Pravashmi sashi suryayo. Pranava sarva vedeshu, and Vedic knowledge, which is symbolized by the Omkar and prefaced always by the chanting of Omkar. That is me also. And Shabdake, and any sound you hear, that is me. And then Porusham Nrishu. Shabdake Porusham Nrishu. So Porusham Nrishu. Porusham, just like we know Queen Kunti. So Krishna, Kunti is the mother, and the son is Konteya. By that grammatical construction, the U in Kunti becomes the AU or the O in Konteya. So Kunti, Konteya. So Purusha means a person, or in the patriarchal Vedic society, it means a man. So Purusha is the man, and Purusham, just like Kunti produces Konteya or gives birth to Konteya, the Purusha accomplishes something, and what it accomplishes is Purusheya. So that's the ability that a person has. And Rishu means man. So Krishna says, I am the ability in man. So Krishna is the source of all ability. Anything we do, it's only Krishna's energy. It's not us. And this is the perfect resolution. Sometimes devotees say, oh, you want to be humble, but you don't want to have low self-esteem or dilemma like this. You don't want to get down on yourself too much or think too badly of yourself. This understanding is the perfect way to address that pseudo dilemma of how to be humble, but not to be like pathologically humble or have low self-esteem or become depressed. This is the perfect resolution to this, to know that I am nothing, but at the same time, I can be the vessel for the greatest power in the universe. This is the perfect balance. It takes away the sense of false ego because the power is not ours, but also empowers us because we have the ability to be a channel for that great power. So this is the perfect understanding, the perfect synthesis of this thesis. And the thesis and antithesis are humility and low self-esteem. And the synthesis is understanding that Krishna is the ability in man. And if I'm his servant and surrender to him, I can be as powerful as Krishna, not by myself, but becoming a servant, a lowly servant, a speck of dust at the lotus feet of Krishna. Thank you very much. Sorry this went on a little long. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. If there's any question or comment or discussion, we can do that now. Anything? Okay, everyone have a wonderful day and an auspicious auspicious Kartik. I'm not in Philly anymore, but when I was there, I was on the child protection team. So I'll give the announcement. Very young children should not handle the flame themselves. They should be supervised by their parents. So there's no incidents or accidents or danger. I'm sure probably it's already been announced, but old habits die hard. Everyone have a wonderful Kartik of preaching and ecstatic bhajan. And I wish I could be there with you and offer a flame to Radhashari Bihari, but I'm here. Hare Krishna. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day. Vanchakalpatru yascha, patitanam bhavanebhyo, vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Jai.
Thank you,
All
Prabhu.
glories to
Thank
Srila
you for the
Prabhupada.
next class. Hare
Thank you, Acharya Prabhu.
Thank you,
It's
John.
very
Hare
delightful.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.